What's good, everybody? Welcome to Origin Story, the podcast that interviews creators about where they came from to understand how they got here. This is Study Hall, and my name is Phillip Russell, and I am with my co-host,
Ben Thorp.
And Ben, we are back again. Season 3 is in the works, and it's just going to be another good year of Origin Story-related stuff.
We're just going to talk to a lot of people, and it's going to feel good.
How you been?
Personally, like falling apart at the seams, but otherwise I feel like pretty good. How about you, Phil? How's life treating you?
Life is a whirlwind, Ben. This isn't news to you anymore, but I think since probably the last time we recorded an episode, during the Joeys, it had already happened. But just so the world knows, I got laid off from my job at the start, like a couple days before Christmas. And for those who didn't know, because I didn't really broadcast what I did prior, I used to work in marketing for a tech company, and I got laid off right before Christmas. Almost like something you'd hear in a novel.
He went to his hometown directly after. I guess that's more of a Hallmark movie setup. Sorry, keep going.
There was an old flame came out of the woodwork, and I got laid off, and lo and behold, that our very own Chandana Ekanyake reached out the next day. I tweeted about it on Twitter that hey, I got laid off, looking to do freelance games journalism stuff like I have been doing, and he reached out and was like, hey, for Thirsty Suitors, we might need somebody that can do some script editing and maybe provide some writing support for the new game. Would you be interested? And I accepted it. So long story short, the games journalist to game developer industrial pipeline continues with me as the newest recruit.
Incredibly strong. Just a 1-to-1. I don't know. I was so pleased when I heard this. It just made me really happy, and it worked out so well. The next day I was like, should I just quit my job and then tweet out that I'm looking for new work just to see what happens?
Apparently it works.
I guess so.
I was surprised. If anything, it's funny. I look at that this experience, and it's kind of like, I don't know about you, Ben, but I've never really looked at what we're doing at Origin Story as kind of like networking in some ways. We've gotten to meet a lot of, I guess, when I pull ourselves out of the equation, some bigger named people in the industry, but I never really looked at it as oh, they're ever going to be able to do anything for me. So in that sense, it's pretty cool that Eka reached out and kind of is giving me a shot into this kind of industry that for a large portion of people, it's really hard to get into, kind of foggy in terms of what you need to do or the practice you need in order to get an entry-level job, especially one that pays you a living wage. It's been it was a really, really pleasant surprise and kind of a whirlwind, because literally it was I got laid off and then the next day I got offered a job. So it wasn't I feel like I'm still kind of making sense of what my life is currently. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Can I ask you, and stop me if this is something that you're maybe not comfortable talking about yet, but what are you seeing, maybe differently now that you're kind of on the inside looking out and you're getting that inside look at this world?
Yeah, you and I think have both talked about how since starting the show, we've become maybe a bit more empathetic toward various video game, novel, collection, whatever the creative endeavor is, to creators making things, right? I think like we've had a lot of conversations around, like, at the end of the day, people made X creative project, and it's easy to forget about those things when you're kind of just like tweeting into the void, or dunking on it with your friends, which, I mean, to be clear, I still do that stuff,
Listen,
but
we all love a good dunk.
Yeah.
But right. It's happened countless times with us where we've been like, oh, I don't really care about this project, or I'm, maybe not as interested in this. And then you talk to the creator, or you hear something from the creator and you're like, oops, actually, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, we've been on that journey many, many times.
Yeah, and I think of anything. I mean, I've only been working at Outer Loop on this project for, I think this is my second or third week, so still super new, still really green, and learning kind of just like the really bare minimum on things. But I think it's just kind of all those feelings that we've already been having to the next level in some ways. I think especially thinking about narrative, because I'm working on the narrative team. Making games is really hard, and they're really expansive. Like, basically, I think Greg Kasavin might have said it on his episode, that like every little thing in games takes so much more time than you think it does. Or like there's so many more steps. Yeah, I think Greg was talking about like the UI, and how we were talking about how like Persona and stuff like that has really cool like menus, and even shit like that is like so complicated to figure out all that stuff. And I think when it comes to writing, the biggest thing is, like, I can't talk too specifically about Thirsty, but it's not like as big as an Elder Scrolls game. I think that's fair to say. It's not like this huge open world game. And even so, with the scale that it is, it's just like, it's easy to underestimate, like when you're playing a game, in a 3D space, or like this interactive space in the way that it's supposed to be displayed. It's easy to underestimate just like how much writing there is, and how complicated it is to not only write it, but then like review what you've written and like edit it. So like this game, like looking at the script, it's not just like you're reading a film script and page 1 to 100. It's like each little dialogue, each little moment has its own script, and they're all in different places, and it just sprawls more horizontally than vertically, which I think, at least for me, I just imagined like I'd start the job and get this huge script and then just read through it, and that's definitely not the case.
Right. I think you were describing this to me, and I think, about writing, and again, I don't want to discount, writing, raw dogging writing, but, we just kind of poop words out on a page, and this just seems so much more intensive and complicated to get the same kind of text on a page, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, if anything, I'd say that's kind of been the biggest thing that has changed for me, and kind of unrelated maybe to gaming, but my previous job, it was like a very kind of toxic workplace. And prior to that job, I'd only worked in academia. So like that was my first corporate job, more or less. And I think if anything, even the little bit of time that I've spent on a new team with new people that are, super creative and welcoming, it really just kind of shows you that like there is another way, and, Eka talked about this on his episode. Like, it's not just like that happened by chance, it's like you really have to be deliberate, and how, you're making a team, making a studio, and like Outer Loop Games is that way. Like, there's definitely been like a lot of work that had to be done in order to facilitate that kind of creativity and like openness to happen, right? So if anything, I'm just like appreciative that I kind of landed somewhere where I feel a little bit more comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think it's worth underlining. I was thinking about this the other day, that it's like one of the reasons I'm so happy about the way that this has panned out is I feel like in some ways Origin Story came about because we were both like, damn, like not creatively fulfilled right now in my life at all. And I just want to talk to people and kind of talk about projects and try to find, places and spaces outside of my daily work grind that feel like it's kind of tapping into that. And I feel like in some ways you getting this gig feels like such a nice, like cherry on top of all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Like it definitely kind of felt like, something that my partner and I've been saying a lot for this year is like closed mouths don't get fed, like you gotta have to ask, you gotta ask for it, for what you want. And, it's not always going to be reciprocated, but just like putting that energy out into the world can open up some doors that maybe you didn't anticipate. So in that sense, like a really cool way to start the year. Like this, who knows what will happen? Like it's just currently like a short-term gig. But like if anything, it feels like a really great way to start the year and feel like energized, as opposed to like my last job. I just felt like every day is, clocking into the worst job possible, which, to be clear, super privileged. Like my last job, like super privileged, remote. I got paid well, but like despite all those things, it like wasn't fulfilling for me. So just like kind of a cool way to start the year. And that's kind of been, and just unexpected. So
yeah.
But yeah,
where should we go next? I was wondering if it's worth, we didn't really, I feel like we missed the bus on like 2022 recaps. But maybe just real quickly, right? You and I both played a shitload of games last year. And I wonder if it's worth just asking you off the top of your head, like what are some of the best things, maybe all media that you engaged with last year?
Yeah, it's ironic because I feel like I'm gonna be the shill who's gonna say like, oh, here's X example from somebody that we interviewed on the show. But I think some of this like rapid fire, and how about we'll do an expanded episode on this where we'll kind of go a little bit deeper, but just like ones that come to my mind right away, like Citizen Sleeper. A game that I didn't think I would even play, let alone enjoy. And then like I played it, and obviously we talked to Gareth and they were amazing. That game really like speaks to me and it seems really interesting. Before Your Eyes, another game where like, Ben, you were pestering me to played it and like just outstanding. And I don't know what else. Like bands, Always Band, which is a band out of Canada. They released an album near the end of the year called Blue Rev, which I thought was amazing. And yeah, we can go a little bit deeper into these things later. But like, Ben, how about rapid fire? What are some things that were really hitting for you last year?
Yeah, listen, I think similarly, Citizen Sleeper was top of the pile for me. That I platinumed Elden Ring. I spent so much time with that game, and have to say, really enjoyed it. And boy, I know you're not done with it yet, but really, really loved Andor, like a lot, and got a lot out of like watching that alongside like listening to A More Civilized Age, which is a kind of Clone Wars podcast that Austin and Rob and Natalie, and I'm forgetting the fourth host, are all a part of. But yeah, I think those are all things that I just sunk a lot of time into, and also felt like really resonated in a way where I was like, I'm thinking about this kind of outside of just like the act of sitting down and engaging with it kind of in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, Andor is one that I really do need to finish because similarly, from what I've seen, I've only seen I think the first arc. Yeah, just like really incredible and unexpected kind of riff on Star Wars and kind of I'd say making approachable some complicated themes that maybe your average Star Wars viewer isn't going to engage with normally. So yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. And yeah, how could I forget Elden Ring? Fucking Elden Ring.
Elden
Yes.
Ring all the way, baby. Sorry to shill for big AAAs, but what a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay because I also played God of War Ragnarok for review, and that game's not great. So I think it's okay if we have we have our one AAA that made it through.
The other thing that I think we should probably just mention, it came in right at the end of 2022, but Chained Echoes has been a lot of fun, and it's something that you and I are both kind of slowly making our ways through. I don't know how long the game is, but listen, it's a JRPG or JRPG wannabe, and so it feels like it's probably going to be like 40 plus hours. But boy, am I having a good time.
Yeah, like what's standing out to you in it, Ben, that's like making it really resonate? Because, I think you have a much different kind of entry point into really falling in love with JRPGs than I do. So I'm curious, like what's hitting for you with Chained?
Yeah, for me, I maybe complained too much in the chat about like turn-based games like this. I really did not end up vibing with Dragon Quest XI. I think that style of combat gets really dry for me, especially when you're talking about a 35, 40, 50 hour game. Turn-based, I just struggle with. And so I think games like this, Chained Echoes has a really neat innovation called the overdrive meter, where you're selecting moves, but then sometimes you're trying to keep moves so that they fall within a certain bar. And so then you have to kind of start strategizing about the moves that you're going to choose so that it's not sending you into the red or it's not sending you back below into the yellow. So there's like this kind of long bar that goes across the screen. And I think even just that like simple innovation makes all of the fights feel just a lot more engaging, where it's not like, okay, I feel like with so many games, you've got your 4 moves and you're just going to hit those until the boss dies. And maybe there's like a little bit of an innovation as the game moves into its back 20 hours, but there's not going to be much, right? And so I think this just does a good job of making the individual encounters feel impactful. And then the other thing is like, listen, the music, baby, the music rules. A good tell, Phil, for me, and I know this happened with Xenoblade 3, is am I listening to the tracks kind of outside of playing the game? And the answer here is like, yes. And so I really sometimes like it's simple, but just like having a thing that I can run around in, enjoy some like basic combat, and then like just listen and chill to some good music. That's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a really good indicator of good game music is like, especially with JRPGs, is like when you are like really vibing with the track and it's to the point where you just don't want to leave the location because you're just like, I just need to bob along, and I think Chained Echoes has a lot of those. I'm probably, I don't know, like less than 10 hours, maybe like 8 hours in. So I'm still like super early, but even within those early hours, it has so many tracks where you just, at least I just want to like stick around in the location longer because I like listening to it. And yeah, I 100% agree. Like the combat system is really interesting while being pretty approachable, like, classic JRPG turn-based system. But that overdrive bar, I love how, there's like, it's like sectioned into 3 things and then you can move it back and forth depending on your moves. Like that's such a simple but like really elegant kind of way to make battle way more interesting. it's not a JRPG, but it reminds me a lot of Garo Mark of the Wolves, which is probably my favorite fighting game, which was made by SNK, the same people who made like King of Fighters and things like that. And it basically was like the competitor to Street Fighter 3. So like super technical fighting game. And they came out around the same time, but like one of the claim to fames of Garo was that with your health bar, before you started to fight, you could basically choose between 3 different sections on the health bar to set like a special, essentially like an overdrive section of your health, where you can do more damage or like, you take less damage or whatnot. So it really kind of added this added level of strategy where, like, let's say you really wanted to come out of the gate like super strong, you could start like the first part of your health bar as like that overdrive mode, or like maybe you wanted to have like the comeback kind of vibes, you have it at the end of your health bar. And I don't know, that stuff just hits. It feels really, really good. And I think Chained Echoes, I don't know how you feel about it, Ben, but something that I also find kind of interesting about it is, when you select an enemy to attack, it just tells you what their weakness is, or like if you can steal things from them. And like a lot of games would definitely not do that. They'd like either put it behind like a specific skill, or you have to scan the enemy, or like, in Persona, you kind of have to start memorizing the weaknesses of different enemies. But I don't know, I felt like in a game like Chained Echoes, which in a lot of other respects does not respect your time, especially in terms of like the amount of dialogue there is, the weaknesses thing, like just telling you what the weaknesses are, like, is a really, I don't know, I just really like that. It makes combat, it just changes like how you approach combat in a fun way.
Yeah, it's like many of the JRPGs on the pile. I'm not sure I'm going to get through to the credits, but I'm really enjoying my time.
See, listeners, I'll just say Bennis says that, but if anyone beats games the most, it's Ben. Like, I think, like you just said, you didn't like Dragon Quest XI, but didn't you beat that?
Yeah, I did. All right, fair.
Ben is an honorable man. He will play through to the end.
I gotta hold through for the story. Like, maybe the story turns around. I don't know. In the 67th hour, like maybe they pull it all together.
Because like doesn't like Dragon Quest XI? I guess spoiler alert. Oh wait, like a second. Spoiler alert. But doesn't Dragon Quest XI like end, and then there's like a whole another like 20 hours after the end?
Yes, you are 100% correct.
So
yeah, it's an experience.
So yeah, Chained Echoes has been really fun. Free on Game Pass, and then it's on everything else. And a classic one of those games where like made by one person kind of thing, which, I mean, yeah, it's just so big. Like on one level, you just kind of have to appreciate it. Personally, I feel like maybe if it wasn't made by one person, some of the design choices would probably would hit a little bit more. Like there's some idiosyncrasies to it where I'm just like, damn, you could have had like your brother like give you some feedback on this. Trimmed it a little bit. But
really coming for this person.
Like I'm probably never gonna make something as robust as that. But Game Critic hat on, like Neil Jones could hate me, but like, brah, you should have cut that. I'm gonna be the armchair game developer over here.
100%. Listen, I can't even. I have to cop that. Like for the first like probably hour of this game, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. Just because of the way that it introduces characters and the way that it starts to kick off its story. I was like, I don't think I'm into this. And then it wasn't until you get to the first kind of semi-open area, and then that soundtrack kicks in. I was like, oh wait, this is perfect.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, Chained Echoes has been cool, and one piece of media that we've already talked about on the show, but. And I think technically it might have finished in 2023, but Gundam Witch from Mercury, bruh, The ending of that first season. Chef's kiss.
Incredible. I still haven't, Phil, you were trying to goad me into watching more Gundam. And I still haven't picked up more stuff, but I've been meaning to do that just exclusively because I got done with that finale and I was like, damn, I just need to watch more.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably on our last study hall when we talked about it, we were kind of like, it's pretty good. Who knows? Jury's still out. I think it's fair to say we both ended up loving where the season ended. Like, it just felt like everything. There was a moment where I think where we were both like, I don't know, it's kind of dragging, and then bam.
And I think, like, to loop back on that, like, justifies some of those episodes where it's like, oh, we're just kind of hanging out at this school. Because when you get to the end and you have these characters who really are just like school kids, literal school kids just experiencing school, and suddenly they're in the middle of a dog fight and they're watching people die, it's so much more impactful.
Yeah, 100%. So definitely check that out. I still need to watch Chainsaw Man.
Got to get on that.
It's on my radar. But you know what I did
come
watch?
Come be a weird little freak with me. You're not going to say Avatar, are you? Are you going to say Avatar? Don't say Avatar, bro.
I saw Avatar: The Way of Water,
baby.
Oh
my God, fucking Christ!
Ooh, where's Joe when you need him?
How are you feeling after folding for J cams?
You know, I hate to say it, but
don't say it.
Like
don't say it. Oh, fucking Christ! I can't believe this is happening.
Like, it's one of those movies where it's just like I think I was dunking on people. Like, we were listening, or I was listening to Pop Culture Happy Hour, and I think I messaged you after I listened to their discussion at Avatar 2, and I was like, it's really weird. It's like everybody says the story is shit, but they liked it, and I don't know. And I think at the time I was like, I don't know, this seems like bad criticism or something like that. And I don't know, like, I basically have the same opinion. like the story like isn't good. It's not good, Ben. But like the movie's good.
I'm disgusted by everything that I'm hearing right now. It's too much, man. It's too much.
Like, it just has a feeling of being completely just extraneous. It's just like, you can tell that James Cameron didn't, I hear there's like a 4-hour cut or something like that, but I bet they had to fucking chain that man to a fence or something and not let him into the editing room, because the amount of stuff he got in there, it's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Phil, I can't hear any more of this. We got to wrap this up.
Tolkien Lives Matter, Ben. Check it out. Check it out before it leaves theaters. You don't want to watch it on the TV.
Don't fall for J Cam's. Don't fall for his propaganda, you know?
You don't even have to see the first one. Just check it out. I mean, literally, it's like the same villain. Like, they basically just resurrected the same villain from the first one. It's like you don't even have to see it. So that's Avatar 2. Yeah, is there any other media, Ben, that we want to touch upon in this episode? Anything else that has really been striking your fancy?
I don't think so. We'll get to. There's a couple of things I'm really excited to talk about, but I think I'll wait until next time.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, we just wanted to have like a quick little episode, because it's been maybe a month or so since we had the Joey's episode. Maybe it's only been 3 weeks, I forget, but it's been a little bit. We've been gone, and it's definitely been a little bit since we've had interviews. When we wrapped up season 2 with Sam Barlow. So yeah, I think we just wanted to say, like, season 3 is coming. We're kind of figuring out who we want to interview, what the season's going to look like, but I think we have a pretty exciting list of potential people that we're interested in. And like, Ben, is there anything like with season 3 or like, this origin story in general, like this year that maybe you are excited about or like want to try out or like anything like that?
No, I'm nothing that I can think of. Is there something that we're doing? You're hinting to me, and I feel like I'm dropping the ball here.
No. I'm genuinely just curious. Like, I think like one thing, I think it's fine to say, like, who knows if this will happen, but something that I've been kind of interested in is us interviewing each other, and if the first one is good. If the first two, like you interviewing me, me interviewing you, if those are good, having it be like an annual thing with the show. And I guess like the ethos I have behind it is that, listeners, Ben and I talk every day. We've known each other at this point over 10 years. But I still think like with any relationship, there's parts where like, unless somebody is like deliberately asking you about X thing, like you're never going to learn about that. And I think similar to how we've been approaching the origin story interviews, I think it'd be really fun to like, ask you questions about like your own creative work and your own kind of connection to, your creative work in life. I think that'd be like really fun to kind of have like these snapshots every year of like where we're at. Like, we've been doing a lot outside of origin story together and separately. And I think exploring that could be fun. Maybe it's a bit self-indulgent, but I don't know, like, fuck it. It's our thing, right?
Listen, we have our own podcast. Like we're already there. Let's go whole hog.
Yeah. We're already two guys with microphones talking into the void. So, so I'd like to try that this year. And then I think we've been kicking around the idea of like maybe having like Joe on some more, just like with a movie related stuff. Just like maybe we'll watch a movie. Maybe we'll like talk about a movie and do that like once a month or something like that, or like once every other month. And just continuing like the study hall stuff. Like I think you and I both were kind of surprised by how successful study hall has been. So it sounds like we should do more of that.
We're just going to keep doing this as long as people are going to keep listening.
Yeah, for sure. And, we'll put it in the show notes and everything. And I definitely don't know what the URL is. But, since our last episode, we started a Discord. And, we've had people join it. And we just kind of hang out, talk games, movies, whatever. It's linked in our website now. But, join the Discord. It's a great way to kind of just catch up and talk outside of the episodes. And I don't know about everyone else in there, but like I just use it as a way to kind of learn what people like and dislike, and it's just a good way to kind of more directly respond to people and ideas in like a quicker way than like an email or a review or whatnot. So yeah, join the Discord.
Get on there. It's like honestly great.
So I think we can wrap it up. This was all to say that origin story still happening. We got fun stuff kind of in the docket, and I think we're just excited to see what season 3 will bring. As always, thanks for listening to the show. I don't know why, but we've definitely been seeing like I'd say like kind of an uptick in people listening to a variety of episodes, despite the fact that we haven't been uploading like on our break as much. So yeah, thanks for checking it out. And Ben, do you have anything you'd want to say?
No, thanks for sticking with us, I think is the main thing. More to come.
For sure. So, with that, we will catch y'all again here shortly on the next episode of Origin Story. Thanks again for checking out the show. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, it is 3D Cisco on Twitter as well as Instagram. And you can follow Ben on Twitter at sad_radio_lad. We wanted to thank Melody Hirsch, who designed all the awesome cover art and design work for the website and the podcast itself. And we wanted to thank Ryan Hopper, who does all the intro and outro music, as well as some of the interstitial stuff you hear in different episodes. If you enjoyed the show, we'd love it if you left a review on iTunes, subscribed on either iTunes or Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. Reviews help just get the show in front of more people, and it only takes a couple of minutes. So yeah, if you could do that for us, it'd be greatly appreciated.
You should also visit our website at www.originstory.show. It's a great place to look at all of our episodes. There are full transcripts and a link to our Discord channel where we talk with listeners about everything OS and beyond. There's a lot of posting that goes on in there, so I don't know. If you're into that, come join us. You can also email us at theoriginstorypod@gmail.com. We're always looking for feedback, whether it's ideas for games that we should play, books that we should read, guests that we should have on the show. Just hit us up with thoughts, feelings. We're always looking for feedback, even if it's that Ben has an annoying voice and you don't want to hear it anymore. I mean, that's totally fine. So write us in. You can also follow us on Twitter at @originstory_ or our Instagram at originstory.show. As always, thanks for listening.